Look closely at the life of a high achieving professional, an entrepreneur, or an executive, and you will almost always see a masterpiece of self sufficiency. We are the ones who pay the bills. We lead the teams. We solve the impossible crises that nobody else wants to touch. We build entire careers and entire identities on our ability to figure it out entirely on our own. In the boardroom, in our businesses, and in our families, we wear our lack of needing anybody as a badge of honor. But if you're watching this, you probably already know the dark side of that equation. Hyper independence is rarely a superpower. More often than not, it's a highly functioning defense mechanism. We build these isolated fortresses of extreme competence so we never have to risk the vulnerability of relying on another human being. We figure if we don't need anyone, nobody can let us down. But when you're secretly drowning in burnout, or you're battling a destructive habit behind closed doors to numb the pressure of your life, that exact same isolation goes from being your greatest shield to being your permanent prison. You're so used to being the savior for everyone else that you have absolutely no idea how to ask to be saved. Today, we're tearing down the masterpiece of self sufficiency. We're talking about why your hyper independence is going to kill you and how to build the infrastructure to finally ask for help. Welcome back. If we haven't met, my name's Marta. In my day-to-day life, I'm an optician at an upscale private practice. I deal with precision, clarity, and helping people see exactly what is right in front of them. That career, the stability of it, and the leadership it requires is a direct and absolute gift of my recovery. On this channel, we talk about the intersection of high performance and deep internal healing. We talk directly to the professionals who look incredibly successful on the outside, but are internally battling burnout, addiction, or destructive coping mechanisms just to stay afloat. If that's you, hit subscribe. We don't hide the struggle here. We weaponize the discipline. Let's get to work. For a very long time, my greatest point of pride was that I was untouchable. I didn't need favors, I didn't need handouts, and I certainly didn't need emotional support. I thought this made me some kind of elite performer. I thought it made me strong. But the reality, which I only learned after my life burned completely to the ground, was that my self-sufficiency was just terror disguised as competence. As high achievers, we love control. We love outcomes we can dictate. When you rely on other people, you introduce a variable you can't control: human fallibility. People make mistakes and people let you down. So to protect ourselves, we just stop asking. We absorb the extra hours. We take on the emotional baggage of our teams. We become the ultimate shock absorbers for everyone else's incompetence or anxiety. We think if we just work harder, out earn the problem, or out strategize the crisis, we will be safe. But what happens when the crisis is you? What happens when the stress of keeping everyone else afloat becomes so heavy that you start reaching for a drink every night at 6 p.m. just to turn your brain off? What happens when you're so burnt out that you're engaging in destructive behaviors you swore you would never touch, just to feel a fleeting sense of relief? When the foundation finally cracks, the high achiever looks around and realizes they're completely alone. You trained everyone in your life that you don't need them. You've built a dynamic where you only give and you never receive. You cannot save yourself by yourself. You cannot outwork a disease of isolation, and you cannot out-strategize a blind spot you cannot see. In the rooms of recovery, the very first non-negotiable step is admitting absolute powerlessness. For an executive or an entrepreneur, the word powerless feels like a curse word. It feels like a failure. We're paid to have power. We're paid to have the answers. But admitting powerlessness isn't about giving up. It's about accepting reality. It's looking at your life and saying, my best thinking got me into this mess, and therefore my best thinking cannot get me out of it. A broken tool cannot fix a broken tool. Think about it like business infrastructure. If you were scaling a company to 8 figures, you'd never attempt to be the CEO, the CFO, the head of marketing, and the legal counsel all at once. You'd burn the company to the ground. You build a board of directors. You hire experts. You create a system of checks and balances because you understand that your singular perspective is limited. Why do you treat your life, your health, and your sanity with less respect than your business? When you're hiding a struggle, your brain will lie to you. It will rationalize your destructive habits. It will tell you that you deserve that drink because you closed a massive deal. It'll tell you that your burnout is just a season that will pass once this quarter's over. You need outside infrastructure to call out your rationalizations. You need a personal board of directors for your recovery. To dismantle this hyper independence, you have to force yourself to rely on others. You need 3 specific people in your infrastructure. Number 1 is the veteran. In traditional recovery, we call this a sponsor. In business, you might call it a mentor, but specifically, this must be someone who has survived the exact battle you are fighting right now. You don't need a life coach who has only read about burnout in a textbook. You need someone who knows what the bottom looks like and who has built a staircase out of it. The veteran isn't there to coddle you or be your friend. They're there to hand you the blueprint. They're the ones who will force you to look at your own side of the street when you're busy blaming your boss, your spouse, or the economy for your stress. Number 2 is the peer. This is someone who's in the trenches with you right now. The veteran gives you the overhead strategy, but the peer gives you the real-time tactical support. You need a contemporary who understands the exact crushing weight of your current pressures. This is the person you call at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday between meetings when the urge to numb out is screaming in your ear. You don't call them for advice. You call them just to say the dark thought out loud. Because in recovery, secrets keep us sick. The moment you voice a destructive thought to someone who intimately understands it, it loses 50% of its power over you. And number 3, the anchor. This is the most critical role for the high achiever. The anchor is someone who does not care about your title, your income, your car, or your accolades. They're entirely unimpressed by your resume. They're hyper-focused entirely on your character. High performers are incredibly charming. We're manipulative when we want to be. We know how to spin a narrative to make ourselves look good. The anchor is the person in your life who sees right through the PR campaign. They're the ones who will look you in the eye and say, I know you hit your revenue goals this month, but you are treating the people around you terribly, and you are lying to yourself. You need an anchor to keep your ego in check before your ego leads you straight into a relapse. Building this board of directors requires you to do the one thing that you have been avoiding your entire professional life. You have to drop the armor. You have to look another successful person in the eye, strip away the title and the bravado, and say the terrifying words, I am struggling, I have lost control, and I do not know how to fix it. This is not a failure of competence. It takes immense, staggering discipline to admit you're out of your depth. Once you have these people in your corner, you have to utilize them through what we call a daily inventory. You can't just call them when the house is burning down. You have to check in when you smell smoke. At the end of every day, you have to look objectively at your actions. Where was I resentful today? Where was I selfish? Where did I try to control an outcome I had no power over? Did I retreat into isolation today because I was stressed? When you spot the red flags in your daily inventory, you immediately take it to your board of directors. You stop the cycle before the cycle stops you. Your hyper independence has served you well in the boardroom. It's made you money and bought you status, but it will not buy you the peace, and it cannot buy you sobriety or clean time. It's time to step down from the cross. You don't have to be the savior for everyone around you, and you absolutely cannot be the savior for yourself. Admit powerlessness, build the infrastructure, do your daily inventory. Let the people who care about you actually help you. If this resonated with you, I want you to hit the link in the description to join my private email list. I send it out weekly, and it's called the Daily Anchor. Pure values, no fluff, strictly focused on the tools you need to build the infrastructure for your own recovery. Keep your side of the street clean today. We don't hide the struggle. We weaponize the discipline. We recover out loud so others don't suffer in silence. I'll see you in the next one.